Hello everybody. So today I'm going to be bringing you my first guide of the 1.0 update in the full released version of the game. This is no longer pre-test footage, this is the full release. This is the exact same game that everyone has available to them and what everyone is currently playing. So I thought to cap this out, I would start with Toast, because Toast is, in my opinion, by far the strongest breaker right now. He had a lot of great buffs coming into the patch, as well as having a lot of quality of life given to him, as well as just this missile launcher weapon is doing big work right now, as it's got probably the strongest weapon talent in the game. To kind of clarify here, this is going to be the setup I used to get the 155 in Exodia. This was not, again, an optimized run at all, but I was just mainly testing damage from relics, and this is what we achieved. Coming over to Seasonal Challenge, I also hold the fastest time currently for Seasonal Challenge, but it's not a full clear. I have not killed the 210 boss yet. I have got it down to its last health bar, down to 50% of that health bar as well, and died to silly mistakes due to being tired. But I will be having that down very soon and then bring you an updated guide if anything changes since then. But I will also present the setup that I've been using for that as well in this video. And then after doing all that, I will go into an Exodia run just to kind of demo what this is like. So, first things first, let's cover the weapon. And this is the most important thing, because this is pretty much going to be the make it or break it part of this build. Missile launcher is very, very strong. Missile launcher has the restriction of only having one in the ammo to begin with, but it also comes with the benefit of having one of the strongest, and if not the strongest weapon talent in the game. Missile launcher has 100% critical damage as its weapon talent. This is very, very strong on anyone who can utilize crits frequently. So on any breaker that doesn't have a way of gaining 100% critical strike chance quickly, they would want to use crit relics whilst using a missile launcher to gain its maximum bonus. On someone like Toast, Toast does have a way of gaining 100% crit chance via one of his skill upgrades for Crash Wave, which makes it even better. This makes it so you don't have to worry about using any critical strike chance relics as Toast at all. When using this though, the one in the chamber can be seen as a downside, but if I shoot here, you can see the reload animation is not that long. But even with it not being that long, it's still time we're not doing damage. It's still a significant improvement to what it once was, but we're still going to opt to beat that window. To counter that window, I am going to be using a relic called Large Magazine. We could technically be using Infinite Magazine, but here is why we do not. When you have Large Magazine, your magazine size becomes 51. 51 ammo on a missile launcher is a lot of ammo, and the likelihood of you going through 51 shots in a row with a missile launcher and the enemy still being standing is nearly zero. On top of that, when you're playing breakers like Toast, when you're playing breakers like Liner, and when you're playing breakers like Sandman, we all have ways of not needing to reload. This makes Infinite Mag useless. The value of Infinite Mag is significantly diminished when you also then factor it's taking up a tier 3 relic slot, which stops you from using more powerful options in that slot. Now, on Toast, what are the ways that we circumvent having to reload? Shoulder Tackle. This instantly reloads our weapon with this upgrade. Then we have up here this Singularity upgrade, which also makes us consume no ammo for 10 seconds. All of these effects that say that consume no ammo for 10 seconds are technically longer than 10 seconds thanks to the buff adapt stat. This will actually make it so it's around 13 seconds to sometimes around 14 to 15 seconds depending on the rolls of your toy worker. That being said, what tier 3 relic do I opt for instead? You may think Exodia rounds. This is a completely fine option. This is 30% weapon power and is very strong, but I actually opt to use acceleration due to how much weapon power we can also get from our skills. We can get 50% from energy wall over here. We can get a further 50% here from this singularity upgrade, and then another 50% over here from this singularity upgrade. Altogether, that is 150% weapon power we can get potentially just from skills alone, which significantly diminishes the return of how valuable this stat becomes as a relic choice. What Toast is mainly missing from his relic choices, from his skill upgrades, are his global multipliers. In the past, the global multipliers used to be pretty strong on Toast, but his ways of scaling his damage was not very strong, due to the fact he was a burn-based breaker. This doesn't matter anymore. They have removed the burn multiplier from every breaker that had the burn multiplier, and they have replaced it with these really mediocre Hellfire Talons instead. People might see this as a negative, but the game really doesn't need you to have these very, very high multipliers on your targets anymore due to the way the damage types work, as well as mechanical bosses, spoiler alert for the last boss of Seasonal, are immune to DOT effects. So, instead of using weapon power relics too heavily, what do I opt to use instead? Well, global multipliers being something that is so sought after and hard to get, I opt for Weak Spot Detectoscope. This is very, very strong. It lasts for 5 seconds per hit. Every time you hit, it will refresh it, even at maximum stacks, which it stacks up to 5 times, so this makes it a 25% global multiplier that's at the end of your damage calculations. Since they also sunset quite a few relics and other stuff as well, finding multiple sources of global multipliers is pretty hard, as well as finding ones that are useful to you are also pretty second to none. So generally you would only really be finding global multipliers from stuff like Weak Spot Detector, Brawler's Gold Tooth, Boss Target, and your Explosive Target, or replace Explosive Target with any other target of damage you're doing on any other breaker, but those are the main ones you would be finding. So we opt to get the most important one put into our starting lineup instantly, which is Weak Spot Detectoscope. Now, if you're playing multiplayer, only one person needs to actually wear Weak Spot Detectoscope, as it works for everybody and does not stack upon itself. So for example, if I have Weak Spot Detectoscope and then a friend has a Weak Spot Detectoscope, we're still only going to be getting 25%. We're not then going to combine them both and have 50%. Mainly because it's a debuff that goes on the boss and not a buff that goes on the player. An example of this is Defense Shredding. When it comes to Defense Shred as a stat, if someone is Defense Shredding with, say, Sand Snipe, then stuff like Penetrator rounds does nothing for your breaker anymore. That being said, if someone else is already running this, then you can opt and change it for something like Critical Box. 50% critical damage is pretty nice, as well as changing it for any of these strong relics like, let's say, Weapon Amplification Shield here. Blacksmith's Necklace is good. Critical Power Shield is also good. This, unironically, is pretty goddamn strong too. Defense Suit versus attack, fixing your shield to 0 to get 30% attack power is the equivalent of having Mercy on without having to be worried if you get hit and losing it. But that being said, for our Exodia run, I am going to be using Weak Spot Detectoscope. Now, for our last slot, what would I be using? This changes depending on the content I am in. So, for Exodia, I use Critical Box. This is a sunset relic, so not everyone is going to have it, as in this does not appear in explorations anymore, but it is an old relic in the game that if you unlocked it in the past, you would still have it available to you. This is very, very strong. It's 50% critical damage and is going to be very, very hard to reach 100 kills in Exodia, so it's going to be 50% damage pretty much the entire run. If you don't have this relic, you can opt to change and put something like Critical Power Magazine on instead, or even opt to put on something like, again, Blacksmith's Necklace. Any of these necklaces are generally pretty good. Giant's Neck is also pretty good. And these various things, but again, this is what I use, so I'm going to be using my Critical Box. And this is basically the setup I run. I know I don't have any weapon power in here, but again, remember what I said about how I get it mostly from our skills. And generally, with skills, we are going to be starting with the critical chance from the Crash Wave, looking to pick up any of these weapon power upgrades as fast as possible, and ignoring the skill power stuff because it's not that important. Attack speed over here on Energy Wall is also quite nice, but in terms of importance, it's basically Crash Wave's critical strike chance. You would have that equipped. Then we want to pick up the Singularity multiplier, that's right here, the 25% here. The 50% from weapon power for 15 seconds after using Singularity, as well as the 50% weapon power for 10 seconds after using Singularity. In conjunction, these are the most powerful ones and will be the ones that we're looking for, along with the Energy Wall one as well. If we have the options to, and we only have like bad upgrades available to us afterwards, then stuff like instant reload is great, and stuff like the recovery and no ammo consumption here is also great, but we're never going to prioritize getting these two over having something like 50% weapon power or singularities multiplier, for example. But if we get something like, say, energy wall cooldown, recovery of whilst energy wall, and then one of those options, we're obviously going to be taking like never having to reload as a quality of life assurance there. Let's just quickly cover the toy worker, just because, I mean, I might as well. It's not great. It's really not great. This is the one that I use. It's 7% attack speed, some bonus coins, and that's about it. The other one that I like for skill power breakers is stuff like my Medic V2. I haven't re-rolled this at all, and then I've also got this high V2 over here. It's pretty good. I just find it very hard not to take the extra 50 resources every planet. It's very, very strong. And then to cover the differences for seasonal, the only thing I change is I remove critical box and put on critical knife instead, or even put on blood knife, as once you get these leveled up, as in you've got the kill thresholds for them, blood knife is the same equivalent power to having on Exium rounds for not, again, having to replace your tier 3 relic. It's very, very good. This allows you then to focus all your coins that you get into your run into improving your weapon and getting your weapon leveled up as fast as possible, because getting your weapon to tier 4 is very, very powerful, as well as getting additional rolls on your weapon is very, very powerful. But we're going to demo in Exodia, so we're going to do the Exodia setup. Alright, hopefully that made sense to people, and I'm going to now go into Exodia, and we're not going to fish for a lineup. We're just gonna do the run, and I'll show you how strong this can be. This is a pretty bad lineup. Hydra on 4 is very unfortunate. It just eats too much time, but yeah, that's it. The only thing I didn't cover was the rotation, but I'll cover that here since we got this upgrade. I'll be doing it on the fight anyway. You want a Crash Wave at the end of your rotation, if that makes any sense. Crash Wave gives you crit. Crit is going to be the best buff that you have to worry about having up for the longest period of time. If you use it first and then use your other skills, you're wasting time doing no damage, whilst also wasting the crit chance window. We're gonna save and pick up both of these, so we'll pick up one now and get the other one afterwards. So in a sense now, since we don't have an energy wall upgrade, I'm never going to press energy wall. Since we have a singularity upgrade, I'm going to singularity first, then crash wave, and then shoot. So singularity, crash wave, fire. And here you can see the damage is ridiculous. We're not going to bother dodging because it's pointless. Use your health bar as a resource on these early planets. You're not going to die to damage. You're going to out DPS the boss, and then you just pick up the health afterwards anyway. Let's go pick up that relic I was just talking about. There we go. Lightweight magazine. Attack speed is going to be pretty nice to pick up, as well as weapon power is going to be pretty nice to pick up, but we're going to prioritize more important relics if we see them. That being stuff like Brawler's Gold 2, for example. Another very, very strong multiplier. Void target is useless because we're doing explosive damage. That is something you should always check on your weapons, is what damage type they're doing. Check the skills upgrades as well, what damage type they're doing. As you can see, our shoulder tackle was void, but shoulder tackle is not damage that we're going for. Crash wave is. So crash wave being explosive, the best target we can look for would be explosive target or boss target. Concussive rounds is also a great relic. We'll pick that up afterwards as well. So here, this is the only two options. We're going to go for the weapon power because the weapon power is actually immediate damage. If this was a different upgrade and was useless as well, I would prioritize then picking up the no ammo consumption just to lower the singularities cooldown as well as now we're going to pick up this energy wall. So now our rotation looks like this. We're going to go in, we're going to throw down our singularity, we're going to energy wall, and then we're going to crash wave and shoot the boss. Now, because of what this boss is and how annoying it is, we're going to walk up first, bait, singularity. Oh, we cancelled the singularity because he stunned us. Crash wave, and then just shoot. But we should still have the buff, so it's fine. Luckily, we don't have the global multiplier buff from singularity because it would have been wasted there. But yeah, you can cancel the animations and still get the benefits. So like, for example, watch my buff bar down by my skills. If I get my mouse real quick, I can show you. Down here, you can see my buffs. If I now singularity and then shoulder tackle before I throw the grenade, I'll still have the buff. It's a little bit of thing that you can do to save time. The only time you don't really want to be doing that, though, is when you do get the actual debuffs that require it to be persistent on the field and for the enemy to enter it. If it's not on the field, then you're not going to be having it debuff anyone, really, are you? None of these are great. Cooldown Singularity is the best option here. This is going to this is actually more than 20% because we're getting the total upgrade bonus at the bottom as well. So this is actually 30% cooldown reduction, and that's just going to give us more access to our Singularity. Nothing fantastic here. There are no boss enemies, so well, there are only boss enemies, so the no damage, the extra damage to non-boss enemies is redundant there. High power rounds is good. Necklace of Haste here. This is a decent relic. I'm not 100% comfortable having only one dash, but otherwise this is pretty nice. We're probably going to save and just pick up the high power rounds afterwards. 10% weapon power isn't that much, but in the long-term scheme of things, it will allow us to pick up multiple of them throughout the run. Bait the shots. Singularity. Energy wall. Crash wave. Shoot. Energy wall to block all the shots. Singularity to get our buff back. And as you can see, the boss is almost dead. And because of large magazine, we never have to reload. And it's the equivalent of having an infinite mag anyway. Let's go back down. Let's pick up those high power rounds. Counter Defender is not that great. Generally, if you're being hit, dealing 5% of the enemy's max HP is not usually equivalent to how much health you just lost. Usually if you get hit pretty hard by a boss, you're losing at least 70%, trading for 5%. So you're not going to be able to make frequent use of it for it to be very good. Alright, so here, this is an easy choice. We're going to pick up the Singularity upgrade. Coming in here, we're going to pick up Critical Power Chip. Critical damage is always nice. Turret Greaves is also fine. It will allow us just to stand AFK. And yeah, that's about it. Again, this is not a great boss because there's 3 of them, but rotation is going to be the same. Come in, Singularity, shield, crash wave, new damage. The crit buff wore off, so I thought it was going to die, but it didn't. And now, the gameplay for Toast is very, very simple. There's been a lot of people in the Discord saying how they're not too fond of the update. I think it's still a very, very good update. I think it's a much better game than it once was. And this isn't even like because it's easier or anything like that. I think it being easier is much better because the fact it's just going to get more people into the game more easily. And not everyone has like 12 hours a day to sit there and try and learn everything about this game. We'll pick up lightweight magazine. We'll pick up the energy wall upgrade for defense and attack speed. As it get, gonna come in, we're gonna Singularity, shield, dash on underneath the boss and crash wave, and then sit in the edge of the shield and get all the bonuses. Push him into the next phase. Singularity. Oh, I was going to dash and then Singularity. Put up all the buffs. And boss dead. Yes, do as I say and not as I do. On that boss, on Arctic Gear, if you manage to push him into the second phase and he does that laser, you want to dash underneath and then Singularity backwards. That way he's like in the middle of it. Just makes it a lot easier. Sniper Telescope isn't bad, but I mean, yeah, we should really take it. It's a global multiplier. It's going to be fine on the bosses that we're going to be using it against. They don't move too much. Protean's going to run around like a chicken, and then we can just hit from a distance, I guess. Weapon power on Singularity. Turret Greaves again. Generally, it's not that great picking up attack power right now. Like, attack power is still a very, very nice stat to have, but the sources of attack power are much lower, so it's hard to quantify picking up the little bits of attack power over against something like an explosions target, which is just going to equate to more damage in general. So, coming in, again, usual. Oh, I thought I pressed shield, but I didn't. It's okay. Let me back up a little bit to get that sniper telescope. Pull up a little bus. It'll be nice to pick up one more Crash Wave upgrade soon, just so we have the cooldown syncing back up again, but we beggars can't be choosers. We had options, but the other options are obviously more powerful. The second best Crash Wave upgrade really to be looking for in these runs is the one that gives you attack power. For of course, yeah, this one. But sorry, I'm thinking internally. So this will give us a lot more damage throughout the course of the run. This is going to stack up to 5 times, and you can hit the same enemy over and over and over with it to get the each individual stack. So by time we're on the last phase, this will likely be at 3 stacks or 4 stacks, which is going to be around 60% to 80% attack power increase. This is going to be more cooldowns, about let us do it more frequently, but this is also going to be 10% cooldown, where this is 30%, because you have to equate in the total upgrade bonus at the bottom as well. I'm going to take this one. I think this is going to be enough if I don't have any money. I was about to say, if we see a cooldown relic, then we'll pick it up, but we don't have any money for him. We'll just roll, see if we can see anything new. No new. So Protean, same thing. We're going to try and identify what attack he's doing first. Hopefully he's doing the jab, makes it easier not to have to chase him. Then we're going to Singularity, and then, yep, so Singularity. And then we throw down this, and boom. And then we just do some damage. And then we get in towards the middle. And there we go, 2 minutes 17. Again, not the fastest time, not the greatest time. Definitely not the 155, but it showcases the relative strength of this setup and how important the global multipliers are. Relics could have been a little bit better in what we found in the run. We didn't find anything massive. We just found lots of small incremental increases. And our upgrades, although pretty good, we did have to skimp out on getting some of the attack power stuff. I hope this has been a good showcase. Please use, copy the build, etc. Have fun. Abuse Toast whilst you can. He is very, very strong, and I can easily foresee him being nerfed because he is polarizing how much damage a lot of the other breakers do right now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.